So, if you want to trick the human brain into learning a new language, the very first thing you have to do is make it completely forget that it is in a classroom.
Right, has to feel natural.
Exactly. I want you to take a second right now. Think back to your earliest memory of trying to learn a foreign language in school.
Oh, man. I bet it is not a fun memory.
No, definitely not. If you are like most people, that memory probably involves sitting at a very rigid desk. You are staring at this thick, very dry textbook.
Yeah, and listening to those awful audio recordings.
You know the ones that sound something like, hello, how are you today? I am going to the library.
It's so robotic.
Incredibly robotic. And it felt really stressful, right? You were likely terrified of conjugating a verb incorrectly. You didn't want to look foolish in front of your peers.
Well, yeah, because traditional language education, historically, it prioritized grammatical perfection over actual human connection.
Yeah, but
It basically turned communication into a sterile science experiment. Everything was about precision. It was about rule following and avoiding errors at all costs.
right. Do not make a mistake.
But human brains just aren't wired that way. We do not absorb language well in high-stress, high-stakes environments.
Which brings us to the real mission of today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We are exploring a highly guarded document today. And it completely flips that old stressful model on its head.
It really does. It's fascinating.
We are looking at a master prompt. This is a highly detailed blueprint. Think of it like an instruction manual used to generate an award-winning, wildly engaging English learning audio curriculum.
And it is so carefully designed.
It is. So we're going to unpack the behind-the-scenes architecture of this document. We want to understand exactly how it engineers a learning experience so natural your brain doesn't even realize it's doing work.
Right. So looking at the source, the target audience defined in this blueprint is A2 to B1 learners.
A2 to B1. So in linguistic terms, that means intermediate.
Exactly. Intermediate. These are people who know the basic vocabulary. They have studied the grammar rules, but they often just freeze up.
They freeze when trying to actually speak.
Yeah, or when listening to real-world conversations. So, to solve that paralysis, the prime directive of this prompt is strict. The conversation must feel warm. It must feel funny, relaxing, and authentic.
It explicitly commands the creators to sound like two real friends just talking over coffee.
Yes, the relaxation is mandatory.
It insists on this relaxed environment to a meticulous degree. When I was reading through the prompt's rules, it honestly reminded me of physical therapy.
Oh, that's an interesting comparison. How so?
Well, think about it. If you have an injured leg and you try to do therapy on dry land, the harsh gravity just pulls you down.
Right, it hurts.
It hurts a lot. You tense up, and you can't properly build the muscle because you were so focused on the pain.
You're just trying to survive the exercise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you get into a swimming pool, the water supports your weight, the pain goes away, and suddenly you can move freely.
That makes perfect sense.
Right. The humor, the warmth, and that relaxed pacing mandated by this blueprint, they act like the water in that pool.
That physical therapy analogy, it perfectly captures the neuroscience at play here.
The neuroscience.
Yeah. Linguists actually refer to this phenomenon using a concept called the affective filter.
The affective filter.
The affective filter. Anxiety acts like a literal wall in your mind.
Oh, a literal wall.
Yes. When you are nervous, like when you are terrified of failing a grammar test on dry land, your affective filter goes up.
So the wall goes up.
Exactly. Your amygdala senses a threat, and your brain redirects its energy. It focuses purely on survival and stress management.
It stops focusing on learning.
Right. In that stress state, your brain actively blocks new linguistic input. It prevents it from being stored in your long-term memory.
So the stress of traditional learning is literally the roadblock. It prevents the learning from even happening.
That is exactly it. So by strictly prioritizing an entertaining, stress-free environment, this blueprint intentionally lowers that affective filter.
It lowers the wall.
Yes. When the listener feels like they are just safely hanging out with two friendly people, their anxiety drops. The water in the pool supports them.
And when anxiety drops, the brain opens up.
It becomes incredibly receptive. It absorbs new vocabulary naturally. It picks up grammar patterns like a sponge, simply because it doesn't feel threatened.
There's no fear of failure.
Exactly. No fear.
That makes the document's obsession with host dynamics so much more compelling to me. It doesn't just say, hey, be fun.
No, it is highly specific.
It meticulously engineers the personalities of the hosts. It wants to maintain that low anxiety environment. The prompt requires two distinct personas.
Host A and host B.
Right. You have host A. Host A is energetic, friendly,
Yeah.
funny, and asks a lot of questions.
They bring the energy.
They do. And then you have host B. Host B is calm, supportive, and excels at explaining things clearly. They give great examples.
It creates a beautiful symbiotic relationship.
It really does. One drives the curiosity, and the other anchors the understanding.
But, and this is key, they aren't just delivering long monologues.
No, not at all. The document demands that they alternate frequently. It actually says to keep their responses to an average of just 1 to 4 sentences.
Very short turns.
Yes, short turns.
Yeah.
It mandates natural pauses. It requires emotional reactions, laughter, and, well, this is the part that really caught my eye, interruptions.
Interruptions.
Yeah, it actually commands the hosts to interrupt each other.
That seems counterintuitive for teaching.
Right. That was my pushback. I thought, wait, hold on. If I am an intermediate English learner, and I am already struggling to translate words in my head,
Yeah, it sounds like a nightmare.
isn't a chaotic environment where two hosts are laughing, reacting, and constantly interrupting each other going to completely overwhelm me?
That is exactly what a traditional textbook publisher would
Yeah.
worry about.
Because it sounds too messy.
But they are ignoring the reality of the real world. Think about what happens when a student actually steps off a plane in New York or London.
Right. Real life is messy.
Exactly. If you only ever train a learner by having them listen to perfectly sterile, slow, uninterrupted audio tracks, you are setting them up for a massive shock.
Because real human conversation is inherently messy.
It is full of false starts, people talk over one another constantly, there are sudden shifts in tone.
So you completely panic in the real world.
Yeah.
You panic because nobody actually talks like a textbook audio track.
Right. The brilliance of this blueprint is how it balances that chaos. It balances it so it doesn't overwhelm the learner.
How does it balance it?
It creates controlled chaos. The interaction is dynamic. It models the true, messy rhythm of human speech. But the prompt specifically mandates that the grammar must be simple,
Simple grammar.
and the vocabulary must be highly accessible.
Okay, I see. So you are intentionally giving them the chaotic rhythm of native speech, but keeping the cognitive load low.
Yes, you are putting training wheels on the vocabulary.
That is so smart. The structure of the interaction prepares the listener's ear for actual real-world pacing.
It trains the brain to process the natural cadence of English. And it does this without overloading them with complex academic jargon.
They get the exposure to the speed. They get the interruptions. But because the words themselves are easily digestible, the effective filter stays low.
The wall stays down.
Which begs the question,
Yeah.
how do they actually introduce new, difficult words in the middle of all that controlled chaos?
That is the tricky part.
Because the document explicitly forbids traditional lecturing. It says no dry definitions.
Right.
So how do you teach an intermediate learner a brand new vocabulary word without stopping the fun conversation to define it?
The mechanics of this natural teaching are mapped out in a very subtle sequence. We can call it an instruction loop.
An instruction loop.
Yes, instead of stopping the show to read a dictionary definition, the prompt forces the hosts to embed the explanation. They hide it within the natural flow of storytelling.
Or gossip, even.
Exactly. Gossip works great.
Walk us through the mechanics of that loop. What does that actually look like in practice?
The document dictates a 5-step sequence.
5 steps.
Okay.
First, one host introduces a new concept or an interesting statement.
Okay, step 1.
Second, the other host reacts emotionally. Maybe they say, no way, or wait, really?
The emotional reaction. Step 2.
Third, they offer a very brief, organic explanation of the concept.
Just a quick definition.
Very quick. Fourth, they provide an immediate, relatable example.
An example? Step 4.
And finally, the 5th step. They ask a follow-up question to seamlessly push the conversation forward.
Seamlessly pushing it forward. Let's actually demonstrate that loop right now. I want you to hear how seamless it is.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's pretend we are hosting this language show. And the vocabulary word we want to teach you, the listener, is overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Great word.
I'll start with step 1. You know, I walked into the grocery store yesterday and I was completely overwhelmed.
Step 2, the emotional reaction. Oh, no. Really? What happened?
Step 3, the brief explanation. Well, being overwhelmed means you just have too much to deal with all at once and it feels like you can't handle it. Step 4, the relatable example. Like when you have 5 massive projects due at work on the exact same day and you just want to hide under your desk.
Step 5, the follow-up question.
Exactly.
Have you ever felt overwhelmed like that at work?
And just like that, the loop is closed.
That was incredibly smooth.
We introduced the word, we defined it, we gave a real-world example, and we moved on.
All without breaking the illusion of two friends having a casual chat.
The listener learned the word overwhelmed, but it felt like they were just listening to a silly story about a grocery store.
It is brilliant. That step-by-step instruction loop handles the mechanics of explaining a word in real time.
It does.
But explanation alone doesn't create long-term memory. You can explain a word perfectly, and I will forget it 5 minutes later.
We all do.
The blueprint solves this memory problem by attaching those explanations to a requirement it calls micro-stories.
Micro-stories. The prompt actually demands these tiny narratives every few minutes.
Every few minutes. It insists on including short anecdotes. It can be something funny, something embarrassing.
Something surprising.
Right. Or highly emotional. And the prompt explicitly notes that these stories are what make the vocabulary memorable.
They are crucial for retention.
I was thinking about how this mechanism functions in the brain. It is like attaching a bright neon sticky note to a new piece of information.
A neon sticky note. I like that.
Think about it. If I just hand you the word embarrassed on a blank flashcard, it easily slips out of your brain.
There is no context.
Right. It has nothing to grip onto.
Yeah.
But if I tell you a short, hilarious micro story, say about the time I accidentally walked into the wrong restroom at a crowded restaurant.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And I use the word embarrassed while describing my bright red face and my absolute panic.
That paints a picture.
That story acts as the neon sticky note.
Hmm.
You, the listener, will remember the funny situation, and the new vocabulary word naturally hitches a ride into your long-term memory.
You are describing the cognitive difference between episodic memory and semantic memory.
Episodic versus semantic memory. Break that down for us.
Memorizing a static list of words from a textbook relies on semantic memory. It is just raw data.
Just facts.
Exactly. Semantic memory is notoriously difficult to retain. It requires constant, exhausting drilling.
Flashcard after flashcard.
Right. But connecting a word to a narrative taps into episodic memory, like a vivid spatial environment, such as a restaurant, or an emotion like panic.
The brain is fundamentally hardwired to remember stories. We remember episodes from our lives.
Yes. The brain evolved to remember locations. It remembers events and emotional states for survival.
So by wrapping a vocabulary word inside a micro-story,
The blueprint tricks the brain. It tricks it into treating that word as a crucial piece of a lived experience.
rather than just a random string of letters on a page.
Exactly. Which completely changes how the blueprint handles repetition.
Repetition is so important in language learning because even with a great story, you can't just say a word once and expect it to stick forever.
You definitely need to hear it again.
The document has a specific mechanic for this. It calls it vocabulary recycling.
Vocabulary recycling.
It states that important vocabulary must be repeated naturally in different situations. But it strictly commands, never repeat mechanically.
So, no chanting a word 5 times in a row.
No chanting, no apple, apple, apple.
Right. Because if you hear a word used in a micro story about a restaurant, and then 20 minutes later you hear that same word used in a totally different context.
Say a joke about a stressful job interview.
Exactly. Your brain does something remarkable. It starts triangulating the meaning.
Triangulating. So it realizes the word isn't just a label for a specific textbook picture of a restaurant.
Yes, it recognizes the word as a flexible tool.
A tool you can use anywhere.
Seeing the same word organically emerge in multiple distinct contexts forces the brain to build robust, interconnected neural pathways.
It shifts the learner's understanding. It moves from a flat, two-dimensional dictionary definition to a three-dimensional grasp.
An intuitive grasp of how the word actually functions in society.
So we have this engaging, story-driven, perfectly paced delivery system. But the actual content, the prompt, chooses to push through this system really surprised me.
The specific vocabulary they chose.
Yeah. The blueprint heavily emphasizes teaching practical English. It explicitly warns the creators to avoid textbook English.
That is a very deliberate choice.
But the examples it gives for practical English aren't complex verbs. They aren't advanced nouns. It mandates teaching filler words.
Filler words.
It wants the hosts to use and explain phrases like, well, I mean, really, kind of, and pretty much.
Words that teachers usually tell you to stop saying.
Right. So why spend valuable educational time teaching filler words? If students are at an intermediate level, don't they still desperately need to lock down their basic verbs and sentence structures?
It feels like a waste of time, right?
Teaching them how to say, feels like a huge waste of time.
It might seem counterintuitive, but teaching fillers is actually one of the most sophisticated aspects of this entire framework.
Really? How so?
We have to ask ourselves what it actually means to be fluent.
Okay, what does it mean?
Fluency is not just the ability to construct a grammatically perfect sentence on a piece of paper.
Right. It's about speaking.
It is the ability to maintain a rhythm. It is about sounding natural. And it's about interacting with another human being in real time without the conversation collapsing.
Without the conversation collapsing.
Yeah.
How do filler words prevent a conversation from collapsing?
They provide the crucial glue of fluency. They serve as cognitive buffers.
Cognitive buffers.
Yes. When you are speaking a second language, you frequently need a fraction of a second. You need time to search your mental database for the right vocabulary word.
Your brain is literally searching for the translation.
Exactly. If you haven't been taught how to use fillers, that fraction of a second becomes a dead awkward silence.
You freeze.
You freeze completely. Your eyes glaze over. The person you were talking to gets confused.
I might try to interrupt or just walk away.
And your anxiety spikes. The
Uh-huh.
affective filter goes right back up.
So if someone asks me a hard question in my second language, I shouldn't just freeze up in silence. I should intentionally use those phrases to hold my ground.
Yes, you use them to hold your ground.
Something like, well, let me think about that for a second.
See? You just bought yourself 3 seconds of cognitive processing time.
And I did it without breaking the flow of the conversation.
Exactly. Native speakers buffer all the time, but native speakers fill that buffering time with words like, well, I mean, or it's kind of.
It sounds so natural.
By explicitly teaching a learner these filler words, the blueprint gives them the tools to hold the floor.
It buys them the mental space they need to retrieve their vocabulary.
It makes them sound more native, but far more importantly, it makes them feel capable. It makes them feel in control of the interaction.
It is teaching them the survival skills of a real conversation, rather than just the vocabulary of it.
Survival skills, that is the perfect term.
And that emphasis on making the learner feel capable doesn't just stop at linguistic survival tools like fillers. The blueprint builds psychological support directly into the prompt.
It really focuses on the learner's emotional state.
It mandates what it calls confidence tips.
Confidence tips. The psychological support is the engine that keeps the learner going.
The document requires the hosts to occasionally break the fourth wall. They have to encourage the listeners directly.
What kind of encouragement?
It asks them to sprinkle in phrases. Phrases like small steps matter, everyone makes mistakes, speak first, and perfection can wait.
Those are powerful messages.
It also includes interactive speaking challenges. They ask the listener to pause and actually answer a question out loud.
Getting them to speak is the hardest part.
And they are expected to sustain this engaging, supportive environment over a recommended runtime of 45 to 60 minutes.
That is a long time.
It is a massive amount of time to keep an intermediate learner engaged without them burning out.
The runtime is only possible because of that psychological support.
Because it is so exhausted.
Yes. Learning a language as an adult is an inherently vulnerable, often humiliating experience.
Humiliating. Wow.
Think about it. You are temporarily stripped of your ability to express your complex adult thoughts. You are reduced to pointing at things. You are using simple sentences.
You feel like a child again.
It is terrifying.
Yeah.
Which shoots that affective filter straight back up.
The wall goes up immediately.
Exactly why the blueprint counters it so aggressively. Directly encouraging the listener builds vital emotional resilience.
Constantly reminding them that perfection is not the goal.
If the affective filter is the wall that blocks learning, these confidence tips are the sledgehammers breaking that wall down minute by minute.
Sledgehammers. I love that. When a host explicitly tells a learner that everyone makes mistakes, it directly combats the paralysis of perfectionism,
It gives them permission.
the psychological permission they need to actually open their mouths, to risk looking foolish, and just speak the language out loud.
Perfection can wait. That is honestly profound life advice.
It really is. It goes well beyond just language acquisition.
Yeah.
And it brings us to the core of what this deep dive has revealed today.
The ultimate takeaway.
Right. If we distill the ultimate takeaway from this master prompt, it is that effective education, true, lasting education that actually rewires the brain, isn't about strict rules.
It isn't about rigid lectures.
It is not about perfectly sterile audio tracks or pointing out every single error with a red pen.
Education is fundamentally about warmth. It is about authentic human connection and relaxed immersion.
The human brain genuinely wants to learn.
It does. You simply have to curate the right environment for it to do so organically.
It is about designing an experience where the learner feels safe enough to be curious And that is a critical takeaway for you listening right now.
Absolutely.
Whatever new skill you are trying to acquire, whether you are trying to learn Spanish or how to play the piano, or how to master a complicated new software program for your career.
Any difficult skill.
If you find yourself deeply stressed out, if you are constantly hitting a wall and feeling like you're just memorizing robotic rules on dry land, you might be using the wrong method.
You need to find the water.
Seek out relaxed, story-driven, and conversational methods. Find the warm swimming pool instead of fighting gravity.
When you remove the threat of failure, the mind naturally absorbs what it needs.
Which leaves us with a final, slightly wild thought to ponder today.
Oh, I'm ready. What is it?
We have seen how effectively this conversational, humor-filled, beautifully messy human blueprint works for learning a language.
It clearly works wonders.
We know it lowers anxiety, it uses stories as sticky notes, and it builds real confidence. But could we take this exact same framework?
The jokes, the interruptions, the friendly banter.
Yes, all of it. The micro stories. Could we use it to teach highly technical, deeply intimidating subjects?
Oh, wow. Like,
Imagine learning quantum physics or advanced computer programming, not from a dense, humorless textbook, but from two friends laughing over coffee, sneaking complex equations into relatable, emotional micro stories.
that is a wild thought. It certainly challenges our foundational assumptions about what serious education has to look like to be effective.
Because maybe the problem was never that the subject was too hard.
And what was the problem?
Maybe the problem was just that the classroom was too quiet. Talk to you next time.